Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today is April 1st, 2024, and that's traditionally known as April Fool's Day, where people try to prank one another into believing things that couldn't possibly be true. And sometimes if you have enough skill, you can float those by convincingly, those pranks, and people will get a rise out of having been had, to be tricked out of something where you're having fun is something. To be tricked in other instances when you're not really having fun or where it's not a mutual agreed upon form of entertainment can sometimes become challenging. Like, what if it's not April Fool's Day and someone tries to tell you something that's not true? Recently, I had a very close relative of mine send me a picture, and the picture was of someone who they had not confirmed whether or not it was of the person they claimed it to be. And as they were trying to have this conversation about a random character with me, I just asked a simple question: who took this picture? How were you sure that it was so-and-so that you were taking a picture of? And then from there, we got into a conversation because the answer that was sent to me would never include the details that were requested, or it would include other superfluous information that was basically there to mislead the conversation to another topic. In other words, to change directions. That way we could ignore what just happened. Well, would you believe me if I told you that I had a conversation with a direct parent of mine recently, and because of a misdirection or misunderstanding with my parents, both of them actually, I never again talked with them for my entire life? Would you believe me if I said that? Well, it's kind of turned out that way for periods of time throughout my life with my parents, because I have one parent who gets a little bit unnecessarily agitated at things. And if you've watched this channel at all, you'll know that I try to keep things lighthearted and also point out that there are topics that are in need of conversation. And so sometimes I'll point those out, and it's not because I want to hold something over someone. It's more along the lines of, if we can't establish honest communication when it's necessary, and if people are constantly playing quote unquote pranks by giving incorrect information all the time, then I can only begin to wonder if someone has begun to suffer cognitive decline. Like, maybe they don't really know what they're saying. Maybe they don't know what they're taking a picture of, and maybe they don't know one direction from the other, and they can't look up from the instrument panel long enough to avoid swerving off the road and running over the neighbor's mailbox. These are all kind of made up examples for this April 1st day, where some of you are listening to this and understanding that this is a very personal message, and some of us are also understanding that, well, this is just some random person on the interwebs. But if that were true, then why is it that we continue to watch these videos? Well, I had one person who questioned the same thing, and so they unsubscribed recently because of a conversation that we had recently. And the conversation, just for whatever reason, was filled with the spirit of error. On my channel, I talk a little bit about spirituality and how there's a spirit of truth and a spirit of confusion. The spirit of confusion is typically a character that will, whether they know it or not, will be going down a path where they will kill, steal, or destroy all of those things around them that they and their counterparts would normally find valuable and pleasant. So For me to have someone unsubscribe and not have to become involved in conversations with them for an exceedingly difficult amount of time might not be so much an April Fool's prank as it ends up being a blessing in disguise. If it were true that, in fact, we recently had a conversation, my parents and I, and that caused us to stop talking for the rest of time. So if it's true, maybe this isn't such a funny April Fool's haha type prank, but if it's not true, then maybe this was just a joke, and maybe I had the camera aiming in a different direction so that I could be looking down on you, or maybe I was just showing you a different angle so you could see these amazing guitar grips that are holding up these guitars to my left and right. There are so many things that I've incorporated into my daily arrangement of the things that I'm entrusted to taking care of, and I would love to share those things with the people who are interested in reciprocating positivity. So that's why I continue to do that here. I apologize if some of the messages come across a little bit dual facing, and at the same time, I don't know that I really need to make an excuse for telling you that yesterday was Easter, today's April Fool's Day, and on Easter, believe it or not, this might just be a prank, I was contacted by two people, both having been exhibiting signs of what one only could call possession. If you've ever watched a TV show called Supernatural or any other movie that shows any kind of these unusual behaviors of people who are not really in control of themselves, or if you recognize the, I guess it was Bilbo Baggins in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, where when he saw Frodo, I guess, with the ring around his neck, and he was like, "Let me see this, my precious ring, one more time," and then he lashed out in aggression. If you've noticed that our elders around us are particularly prone to becoming agitated and ending all forms of communication, then you might want to consider that during the next election when it comes down to what we're voting for. If we're voting for the quick trigger finger who's basically going to react out of fear and bigotry, maybe we might want to guess again as to whether or not we're really playing a game or whether this is all very serious. If it's so serious, then maybe we need to have some serious conversationalists who are given a chance to talk at the table every once in a while. But, you know, what do I know? I'm just some random person on the internet who really pulled the biggest April Fool's joke on everyone out there who watched this, and that is that I took up your time. But it wasn't unnecessarily. It wasn't unnecessarily. It wasn't even taking up your time. It was just telling a story that you were able to understand, and hopefully you're able to wish one another a better experience, just like I'm doing for you. Until next time, peace, love, and all that old school stuff.